Hey everyone, this is Daniel,
And I'm Jun,
and we are
Korean.
American.
Hey,
What is up, June?
I've been binge watching this TV show
Yeah.
over the past couple days.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it is almost like a national sensation, I think. Everyone's
Ah,
talking about this. It's all over social
it
media.
is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is this Netflix series called, what's it called in English?
Culinary Class Wars.
Well, no one in Korea would understand what that means.
What's it called in Korean?
Wait, what's it called in Korean? It's called 흑백요리사 요리 계급 전쟁.
I understood the first part.
Mm.
흑백, so black, white, chef.
Mhm.
What was the second part?
요리 계급 전쟁.
Cooking, 계급 경쟁.
That literally means culinary class war.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they translated, I guess, 흑백, so black, white,
Yeah.
to class.
Mhm.
Yeah. But yeah, June, I per your recommendation,
Mhm.
I binged watched myself last night,
Mhm.
at least episodes 1, 2, and then the two latest, 6 and 7.
Mhm.
I do not know why this is trending in Korea. Could you
Really?
could you explain why Koreans love this?
I think number one, Korean people are very much interested in like the culinary scene in general.
Uh-huh.
There have been, trends in like they call it 쿡방 or like
Mukbang?
yeah. So
Oh,
mukbang is when you eat the food,
yeah.
and 쿡방 is when you cook the food.
Oh, is this a popular social media format or channel in Korea?
Yeah, social media or even in public television, there has been like
Ah.
trends in 쿡bangs.
Yeah,
Like, I guess it was really in peak 10 years ago.
yeah.
It sort of went away, but like Korean people in general are very, I think, because I think most people in Korea live in urban areas,
Yeah.
metropolitan areas, and so they're very interested in like culinary culture and eating in general.
Mm. It's a food culture, I think,
Yeah.
more than America. Yeah.
You know how like the omakase were so
Oh, it's so
in
trending
trend?
right now. It's already gone.
It's gone now.
The omakase trend is gone.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
But it was such a thing during COVID,
Yeah.
especially.
Okay.
So number one, I think Korean people are very interested in food in general.
Mhm.
Number two, the class thing is so interesting.
Yeah.
Because, like, what do you call it? The underdogs?
Yeah.
Sort of trying to challenge the more established chef, that
Yeah.
format. I
Yeah,
think it's
yeah.
very interesting.
I see.
Um,
Yeah, I don't think that would have nearly as much appeal in America.
mm.
I don't know why. Yeah. Interesting.
And I think competition, like the format of competition,
Yeah.
is another very popular format in Korean television culture. Yeah.
So that was my very first impression, June. Like
Mhm.
within the first minute,
Mm.
I was like, "Oh, this is physical 100. This is physical back for cooking."
Yeah. Exactly.
And was this like 100 contestants in a like massive game style, competition, Squid Game esque, whatever?
Mm.
Has that been around in Korea for a while, or
Mm.
was like Squid Game then physical back like the real start of that?
I think it started from the what's it called American Idol format.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Like the American Idol-esque TV shows have
Yeah.
been very popular starting from like 20 years ago.
Mhm.
And it comes and goes. Like that type of singing format doesn't really exist anymore in Korea,
Mhm.
or at least like not mainstream.
Yeah.
But there have been so many like competition formats. Like the most recent one that was very sensational, as far as I know, was
Mm-hmm.
the street women fighter or something.
What? Yeah.
Like the street dancing crews sort of
uh.
competing against each other.
I see.
That was like 2 years ago, I think,
Yeah.
which was very like a phenomenal success.
Oh, in Korea too.
In
You're
Korea,
saying. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I'd never heard of this.
And now it's this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all over the news, all over the media.
Yeah.
Everyone's like only talking about this at work.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm excited to dive into this because I just have to lead with this.
Mm.
I wasn't that interested.
Yeah.
I'm not a foodie in general,
Hmm.
but I do enjoy watching food shows.
Wait, you're not a foodie? You like eating, but you're not like.
I love eating, June.
Oh, I see.
I also have been to like very fancy restaurants, which we'll talk about later.
Mm.
But at the same time, like I don't I don't think I have like very sensitive tastes. I
Mm,
think I'm pretty tolerant of anything.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm not very particular.
I see, I see.
But I mean, watching this is like my second impression was like, I just want to be a judge or taster. I just want to eat all this good food.
Like one of those 100 mystery tasters or
Yes, yes.
something.
And it's
Yeah,
basically like it's food porn. Like this
yeah,
stuff looks so good, and it's so much variety.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting part too, which is, all the food shows in America,
Mm-hmm,
and I'd say like whatever hot cuisine, like the fancy food,
mm-hmm.
it's never Asian.
Fine dining.
Fine dining, right?
Yeah.
You don't see like the Korean like everyday foods or whatever. So
Ah.
even though I think Korean food is very popular and
Mm-hmm.
trending,
Mm.
and you'll see fusion, like they're putting gochujang and everything, and
Yeah, yeah.
the U.S. or Western cuisine,
Mm,
and all this fusion stuff is. But just seeing like traditional Korean foods,
mm.
like the oyster, John, that was kind of cool. I
Yeah,
like that. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So yesterday when we were talking about what we're going to talk about today,
Yeah.
I suggested this topic because number one, I think it's because very in trend
Yeah.
and it's still ongoing. So even by the time that we release, it's still going to be very popular.
Okay.
That one thing, and I also thought in my mind, I just assumed that it has a lot of cultural nuances.
Mm.
But after I rewatched it yesterday night
Yeah.
to extract things that I want to talk about in terms of like the cultural things.
Yeah.
To be honest, there wasn't a lot. So I don't know how this is gonna play out. But
No, let's just talk about
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, because it is, again, it's you're saying it's like a cultural phenomenon in Korea.
mm-hmm.
Everyone's talking about it. It's all
Yeah.
over the news. So I
Yeah.
think that itself is interesting.
Yeah. So just to give an overview of this format, it's a competition show again, but there are two sides of the white spoons and the black spoons. The white spoons are more renowned chefs. They're already celebrity chefs or they own like Michelin star restaurants or whatnot.
Yeah.
One of them is from the US. It's like Korean American
Okay.
Edward something.
I do
Andrew
like it
something.
whenever like the random Korean is speaking good English. I'm like, yes, another Korean American.
Yeah. And then the black spoons they're still famous chefs, but they're more, I think, famous in social media or like they're up and coming.
Yeah.
And like it's very interesting that they call the white spoon chefs by their names.
Yes.
And they call the black spoon chefs by their nicknames.
Yeah. So I added that.
So like they want to like almost like win their name because I think if they win, they can reveal their names or whatever. So that part of it, I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I noted that.
Another interesting part are the judges. Of course, this guy Baek Jong-won, he's like a restaurant tycoon in Korea. He's not a chef per se, but he has like immense knowledge in the food, like food in general, which
Yeah.
is so surprising because he has knowledge for like almost any type of
Yeah.
food
Yeah.
in a very deep level. So he's already like super celebrity, like right? He's almost always involved in some type of food competition,
Yeah.
TV.
I mean, it's safe to say he's the biggest restaurateur in Korea, right?
Yes,
Is this the same guy as Pake's Noodles,
yeah.
Pake's Coffee?
Everything
That's
that
him?
has pig
That's
in
him.
it,
Okay,
it's
okay,
him.
okay, okay. And he's the one that you credit or blame for
Making everything sweet. Yes.
Okay, that's him. All right.
But he has a lot of knowledge in food in general, so it's just fascinating to see him judge certain foods.
Yeah.
And this other guy, his name is An Sung-jae, I think.
Yeah.
He's relatively new in the views of the public, but he's apparently the chief chef of the only 3-star Michelin restaurant in Korea at the moment.
Yeah.
But for some reason, they're not operating right now.
Mosu. Yeah.
It's called Mosu. And it's very fascinating because like his background is very interesting. I think he was in the US military for a long time.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And then he at some point wanted to be a car mechanic.
Yeah.
And then he somehow found his way through culinary.
Yeah.
And then so he was training in like very famous US restaurants. I think you know French Laundry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
Oh
he
wow.
trained there.
He was at the French Laundry. Okay.
Yeah.
I've eaten there, June. We'll talk about it later.
Fancy.
Yeah.
And so there's like this very interesting dynamic between the two judges
Yeah.
because one is very business oriented and he has a lot of knowledge in terms of food.
Yeah.
But I think he's more focused on the taste itself. The An Sung-jae, this other chef guy, I think it's because he was trained in the States. And I believe that this is the way that chefs are trained in the States.
Yeah.
It's very like logical thinking, systematic. He cares a lot about the intention of why.
And the preparation technique and everything, right?
Yeah. So like it was very famous in the show that every time he judges a food,
Yeah.
he was like, "What's your intention?"
Yes.
And he
Yeah.
tries to like reverse engineer if like this intention is well conveyed.
Mm.
So that contrast is very interesting.
In the show, when you watch it, is that guy An Sung-jae? Is he portrayed as almost the white spoon of the judges, and is the Beck guy portrayed as the black spoon of the judges, or are they both kind of seen as like,
Oh, I've
celebrity
never
chefs?
thought of it that way,
Uh-huh.
but that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I think that could be true. Yeah.
Okay, because that's just my impression of them too. Like the one guy has thousands of franchises. He's famous for like jjajangmyeon and like very poor everyman's food.
Yeah.
And the other guy is like classically trained, almost known to only operate
Yeah.
the elite restaurants.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was at least my impression, but I wasn't sure if that was how they were being portrayed in
Yeah.
Korean.
I would also put it as like book smart versus street smart.
Oh,
almost,
yeah, I could see that.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, so first thing I wanted to bring up though, Jun, I think like 5 years ago, before I moved to Korea officially, I was in Korea for work. My company sent me here, and I got to eat at the time with what was a 3-star restaurant. Have you heard of Layan?
Yes.
It's at the top of the Shilla Hotel.
Mm.
Yeah, so I ate there. Again, I would never have paid for it myself. This was a very expensive meal, probably the most expensive meal I've ever had in Korea. As soon as it ended, I wanted to go eat like street food or whatever. I was not full.
Ah.
And again, for me, like it was a bunch of classic Korean dishes. They don't need to be cooked fancy with the best ingredients or served whatever.
Uh-huh.
Like sure, it tasted good, but that's not what I wanted for like my Korean food. And I think for me, it maybe revealed this bias where it's like my favorite when I think about Korean food, I don't think of like haute cuisine or whatever. I just think of street food. That's what I wanted, and that's what I expected. It's cheap, it's filling, it's tasty. But that's not what I got from Layan. Not to bash it.
Who treated you to Ryan?
It was on the company dollar.
Oh, wow.
So the I guess 8 of us who were on the business trip, we all went to eat there.
Ah,
But yeah,
fancy.
Layan now, they lost their 3rd star. Doing research, they lost it in 2023. But yeah, I have to just say, I was like not blown away. And I'll talk about maybe my high-end dining experiences in the US later. But yeah, so that's my one experience with high-end dining in Korea.
I see. Also, I think this is a small point, but I think if this show would have aired in the States,
Yeah.
I don't think they would never format it as black and white.
No, yeah.
Especially when the renowned chefs are the white spoons. that part was interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, this is maybe good for our Korean audience, but with this whole push for DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, there's certain terms like, let's say, blacklist and whitelist. You know, typically whitelist is what's allowed, blacklist is what's not. We actually even talked about we used the term blacklist on our previous episode.
Yeah.
It's a negative thing, and this whole, I think they call it colorism or colorist. Like you shouldn't always associate white with good, black with bad.
Yeah.
But I think in Korea it's still done very kind of casually, right? But to your point of what you were saying, how they wouldn't have used the black and white in the U.S., I made a note here. What is it, Baek suja, like white spoon? That's not a term in Korea, right? It's gold
not.
spoon.
Yeah.
Oh, so why did they? Can you think of why they didn't call it like black spoon, gold spoon instead? Like that would have been more traditional. Like,
But I think gold spoon has a strong meaning of you come from the rich, like your parents are rich or something.
is that not what's being implied here?
No, not really.
I see.
I think most of them are self-made anyways.
Okay.
And also I wanted to, maybe we're not going to publish this, but I feel sometimes uncomfortable when the US is trying to enforce their cultural values to other cultures. And I think that's also a very arrogant thing, trying to like culturally dominate something.
Yeah.
Because white and black doesn't mean anything.
There's
in
no
Korea.
race connection, and
Yeah, think about like Go. It's
Yeah.
just white stone and black stone.
I see.
And like, in judo or taekwondo, like your black belt is a good thing. You start from white.
Okay, I want to challenge that a bit though.
Yeah.
Do you think this show would have ever had black being the elite and white being the newbies?
I think so.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, in Taekwondo
could've-
Judo, you're right. You start as a white belt, you
yeah.
progress to black
I
belt.
think just a random, or like maybe it's because chefs' clothes are usually white.
Or black, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
yeah.
All right. I buy that more now, actually, now that you talk about
I
it.
just want to stress that Korean people have no intention of offending anyone,
Okay.
anyways.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
But I was reading something recently. It's almost common language to like idolize white skin, right? Like, what do you know the Korean term for that? Like, I don't know, something about like, oh, it's such a non-controversial compliment to say, oh, your skin is very white and fair,
Yeah.
right? And you know, there is, I think, something related to that still. It might not be directly racist like it's perceived maybe in the US, but I think there is something still to like associating white with good.
But also, I want to challenge that by saying white is not necessarily trying to mimic the white race. It's more about having clearer skin, or maybe back in the days in Asia, like people who are more of the
Yangban?
noble,
Noble class.
they don't work outside, so their skins are whiter.
Yeah.
I think it's related to that. If you see like kabuki makeup, it's like you're depicting themselves as white, and I'm pretty sure it started from even when they didn't even know white people existed. So
okay. All right.
Yeah,
Fair.
yeah.
I like that. Okay. I mean, I appreciate that pushback.
Yeah.
Okay, so interesting. Actually, I immediately associated this with class as far as like privilege versus non-privilege. But you're saying the class here is just depicting kind of famous, established chefs versus the up-and-coming, less known.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Interesting. Okay, yeah, I did make a note on like you have to be called by your nickname until you're worthy almost of being addressed by your real name.
Yeah.
Is there anything more to that in Korean society that I need to learn? I need to know about?
I think the word I think the concept comes from the word called 무명. 무명 means that literally means no name.
Oh.
And it translates to like you're not famous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I see.
I think it plays into that kind of a concept. Yeah.
I wanted to go by numbers.
Numbers?
Chef 1, Chef 2, Chef 3 instead of even the nicknames. But anyway,
Oh, there's exactly a singing contest that
Like
does
that?
that. They say like contestant like 56 or whatever,
Yeah.
but when they go above like top 10,
They get
that's
their
when they
name.
reveal their
Yeah,
names.
Okay. I mean, Jun, ever since you mentioned growing up, in class, teachers would just refer to you by number. I just think that's the funniest thing ever.
I'm pretty sure the crew they thought about it at one point.
Yeah. Let's move on to the actual competition part. I had some notes here.
Yeah.
In a country that I think really prides itself again on fairness and process, I thought it was weird that the chefs would eliminate or advance people as soon as they tried their food. Like in my mind, the fair process would be they eat all of the food and then they rank it and then they cut to the top 10 or whatever it might be. But I don't know, did that stand out to you at all? It felt really awkward to me to like for them to try a food and immediately eliminate or advance someone.
I think there are two factors here.
Yeah.
Number one is that's the first round where they wanted to cut out as much
Very
as possible quickly.
Yeah.
Number two, there was a system called postpone.
Yeah, so as far as I'm aware, only the on chef postponed. I think Beck never postponed.
Maybe it was edited out. But anyways, there was a system
Yeah.
to sort of calibrate that, I think. Yeah.
And I will say, like, it satisfied my sense of justice and fairness when the on chef did postpone. I was like, oh yeah, you should be doing that because
Yeah.
you're not sure. Okay, anyway.
Yeah, but I also think that if
It was
you're
part of
at
the
that
editing.
level of your industry, I think you could have sort of like an absolute standard too.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. It's
'Cause-
like almost if you're doing resume screens, like you
Yeah.
can just cut as you're going instead of
Yeah.
looking at all of them. I see.
Like, did you see that bibimbap guy that did like the lettering with the rice or whatever? I thought that guy should have been cut.
Yeah. Okay. I made a note when they had the grandma making
yeah.
pure Korean food with the oyster jan, the gyul jan,
굴.
gyul jan from Northeast Daegu. Shout out Daegu.
Oh, 대구. Yay.
Do you not every time you see a contestant or someone famous from Daegu, does it not like trigger a sense of pride in you?
not a sense of pride per se, but recognition.
Oh.
Oh, that person's from Daegu.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So you wouldn't say you have Daegu pride. Like I have Maryland pride.
uh, a little bit, yeah.
I don't. Why is that a hard question for you to answer though?
Because I don't feel that I have a lot of pride per se, but it's just like camaraderie or it's like sense of just like hometown kind of familiarity.
See, that's very different. I think in America, if someone from your town like made it or your state made it, especially if you're not from a big state, I think everyone does feel like pride. Like I don't know, it's like
my interpretation to that is because Korea is a relatively smaller country, so I think the diff is not that
I see.
big to have like distinctive pride that you came from this area.
I don't know, Jun. Gyeongsangdo is quite different from Seoul, and they have their own sense of pride. I think you've become too Seoul. Okay. I mean, and that honestly, that's all I have from the first episode. Anything else you want to bring up?
So I know that you didn't watch all the episodes.
Yeah.
Right. So there were, I think, 3 different rounds of competition.
Okay.
One was when they just wanted to make a simple dish, and then
or they made their specialty. You could make anything. Okay, that was round 1.
That was round 1, and then after that, it moved to round 2, where they coupled one white and one black chef.
Oh, I didn't see this at all. Yeah.
Oh, and they just randomly get assigned a certain ingredient, and you have to cook with that.
It's like a stipulation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the 2 chefs have a blindfold and just taste it without knowing who made it, and they just decide.
Oh,
that's
pretty
cool.
Yeah, I want to watch that. Yeah.
There was this very, I guess, impressive moment where this up and coming black chef, like young, white.
It makes me so uncomfortable when you say black chef, white chef. Can we say black spoon chef and white spoon chef?
Oh, okay. I know what you mean. Okay. So when this up and coming black spoon chef and this 할머니, like white spoon chef competed with the same ingredient, and the young chef made like this very extravagant, like fancy looking thing.
Yeah.
And the 할머니 made like this very humble dish.
Oh wait, the 할머니 was the white spoon chef, but made a very humble dish.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
That's
she
unexpected.
won. And that was very impressive.
Yeah.
Oh, also, I think there's another. This might be a cultural aspect too in competition shows in general in Korea that could be different from the US. I think you mentioned this once. So the way in which in round 2 they paired the white spoon chefs and the black spoon chefs is that they presented the white spoon chef first, and then the black spoon chef who wanted to compete with them challenged.
Okay, yeah.
Multiple people can come up to the white spoon chef, at which case the white spoon chef chooses one.
Which black spoon chef to compete against.
I think the cultural difference is that if you want to optimize for winning, you might want to compete with the weakest link.
Yeah.
But I think it was like almost out of honor. Like I want to compete with you. When like the Chinese food master they were up on the stage.
Yeah.
I think all the Chinese
went to
because they want to compete with him.
Yeah, I mean, this obviously comes up with Physical 100 a lot.
Yeah.
Like, why do let's say, why wouldn't a male contestant try to challenge a female contestant, right? Because they know they have a huge advantage over them. But there's almost this huge sense of honor in Korean society. Like, you'd rather lose with honor than win without.
Yeah.
And so it's not purely about winning. There's this huge honor component as well. I think it exists a bit in the US too, but clearly I think it's more pronounced in Korean society.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made a couple notes. So like with the grandma's cooking, there was one dish that was nothing but namul. I like a bunch of namuls.
Yeah.
I don't know if I mentioned on the pod before, June, but I think as I get older, all I want is namul.
Really?
That's all I want.
Oh, interesting.
I just want my like 10 different namuls. I think I could go vegetarian pretty easily in Korea with namuls. Yeah. But it's harder and harder to find.
Really?
It's expensive when I do find it. Like there's very few places where I can go and just get like a wide assortment of namuls, like vegetables.
There are restaurants that are specializing in namuls.
Is it the temple cuisine? I think temple cuisine's a thing, and it's mostly namul based.
Yeah.
But it's hard to find that around here. Yeah.
Okay, I have my beef with namurs in general.
You have your beef with namul. Haha.
Yeah.
Okay, what is it?
Yeah, I have my beef with namurs. Okay, I think that they all taste the same
What? Okay, this is a bad take. You're gonna get crushed for this, June.
because the way that they prepare it
Seasoning is
is
similar.
the same.
Okay.
They always
Steam.
they always steam or like I don't know what. There's a technique in Korean cuisine called daecho. It's boiling,
Blanch. Yeah.
but
very
very
quickly.
quickly, and they squeeze the water out of it, and they just season it with 참기름 or sometimes 들기름 and a little bit of garlic.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
it's all
like
similar.
soy sauce. It's all similar to the point where I really can't feel the because I've been to one of the namur specialized restaurants.
Oh, you have?
And they literally have like 30 kinds of namurs.
Yeah.
And in my mind, it's like they all taste the same.
No. Okay. I'm with you until that point.
I'm so surprised because most of the time you're the one who doesn't understand the difference between things. And you say you understand how like this namur, that namur, they all taste different.
They all taste different.
Oh, wow.
Not only texture but flavor. Like there's the dark shigumchi. There's like I don't know the words.
Yeah.
But there's like the dark one. There's a bright green one. There's like suchunamur, kongnamur. They're all different, man.
Okay, sukjunamu and like the white ones and the green ones, I know that there's a difference.
Okay.
But you know, like there's a plethora of like the green ones. That to me, I feel like they all taste pretty similar.
I'm not with you on this one. No.
I'm gonna make this into real.
But yeah, I just give us your namur recommendation, like namur cheap vegetarian place recommendations. Like I crave it, and it's so hard to find.
Interesting. Okay.
But anyway, when I think one of the grandmas, this like ratatouille moment, right, where one of the chefs was like, oh, it was the school chef lady.
Oh yeah, that I love her.
I love that moment because he was just like, he honestly was getting emotional. I think it's like, oh, this takes me back to my childhood.
Yeah.
And to see someone who cares so much preparing food for the kids, who might not appreciate it, but they're so picky and so it's important for them. Anyway, I'm getting emotional just thinking about this moment. Yeah, that was a nice moment for me.
Another moment that I want to point out, I think I might have mentioned this before too, but in like, you know how they call, so there are different genres of chefs, right?
Yeah.
Depending on what they specialize in.
Yes.
So there's like, it's so funny because they have like the Hansik chef, like the Korean
traditional chef,
and they have the Japanese chef, which is the Ilsik chef, and they have the Chinese chef, Chungsik chef, and they have the Yangsik chef,
all others,
which is the Western chef.
Yeah, again, I know
which
this is
would
true,
be the equivalent of like in the U.S. culinary competing TV show, they would call like a French chef, Italian chef, like Hungarian chef.
Yeah, they're all just European chefs.
And then you call them Asian chefs.
Which June, again, all Asians do kind of get bundled together.
Yeah. So that I think would be an interesting point for the American audience.
The Western chef. I noted I think their nickname was Triple Star.
Triple Star,
because they worked at Benu, which is in San Francisco. Tellier Ekran, which is also in San Francisco.
Oh, you've been to all these fancy places.
I have, and Mosu. Yeah.
Mosu, yeah.
Benu, I've been many times because Benu in particular. I was going to talk about this later. Should we talk about it now?
Yeah.
Yeah, Benu. I think the head chef is Corey Lee's restaurant.
And Corey Lee.
He's a pretty famous Korean American chef.
Oh, Korean
And he was actually he also was at the French Laundry before that. Which, this is all in the Bay Area. Like Bay Area, I think for cuisine, I think New York, LA, but Bay Area, like those are the three big ones. But yeah, French Laundry's in Napa Valley, maybe like 2 hours north of San Francisco. But anyway, so he started
Are they a Michelin 3-star?
I know Benu had 2 stars. I think they might have got their 3rd star.
But what about French Laundry?
Yeah, French Laundry, I think, is known very famously as
Michelin 3-star.
Michelin 3-star and kind of the best restaurant in America. Maybe that's San Francisco bias, but
French Laundry has been awarded Michelin 3 stars since 2006.
Yeah. So
never lost, maybe.
Oh wow, okay. Whoa, June. Benu is the first restaurant in San Francisco to have gotten 3 Michelin stars.
Are they Korean?
They're Korean fusion. Yes.
Korean fusion.
Opened in 2010 by Corey Lee, who I said. Yeah.
Cool.
Living in San Francisco for so long, I've had the chance to eat at many very fancy restaurants, Michelin 1, 2, 3 star all the way. So
with your company budget?
No, I don't think. Layan in Korea was the only time that was on the company budget.
I see.
But and a couple things I want to bring up. It is hard to get these reservations, but getting reservations in Korea feels even harder. Like,
Yeah.
not that I've tried, but just knowing the ticket process and everything, like I don't even want to think about competing with 20 plus million people over trying to get these restaurant reservations in Korea. Have you ever eaten at a fancy restaurant in Korea or tried to, or is it hard?
I don't really enjoy fine dining in general, but I have tried a couple. Yeah.
Is
It's
it doable?
not anymore
Yeah.
because like after this show,
Yeah. Everyone's
everyone's
yeah.
sharing like the restaurant locations of all these chefs. So it's gonna be harder. Yeah, it's very difficult to get into because again, Korean people all want the same thing.
Yeah,
And I think this
yeah.
is like one of the biggest disadvantages of living in Korea
Yeah.
in general, that everyone wants the same thing. So I think anything that is popular is so difficult to get.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for certain restaurants you have to reserve months ahead.
Yeah, months ahead is fine if there's like a systematic process and like get on the waiting list and they'll call you back. I don't know. Maybe it's a language barrier too, but for me it's stressful even thinking about.
Really?
Yeah.
The thing that I like though about Korean restaurant reserving culture is that they're all on
Catch table?
catch table or like tabling
Maybe
or
I'll
these
try it.
like
Yeah, yeah.
reservation platforms, which is very convenient but also hard to get to. Yeah.
So June,
Yeah.
I ate at the French Laundry once for free.
For free.
Yeah, for free. This is a fun story. I don't know if I shared on the pod. One of my really good friends from high school. I don't know how much I should share, but she was doing her PhD at Stanford in like some very advanced science degree.
Smart.
And she just dropped out one day. She's
Oh.
like, I'm sick of academia. I'm done.
Wow.
And so she moved to, somewhere in Napa. And she like found a job doing reservations at the French Laundry. And
Reservation.
this is a very powerful job in a sense because, like you said, same thing in the US. You have to book 3 months in advance. You can't do it earlier. And if you don't do it that morning of, basically your chance of getting a table is close to zero.
Yeah.
But anyway, she won some award being a good employee. And so she got a free meal at the French Laundry with plus one guest.
Wow.
And again, we were good friends for sure growing up. But, she was living there. She didn't have many. She had just moved to the Bay Area for like 6 months. So she didn't have any other people her age because everyone who lives in Napa Valley is old. And she was like, Dan, I don't know anyone in the world who loves food as much as you do. Will you come with me? Of course, I said yes. Again, we did leave a very hefty tip, but it was not just the free dinner, but they went all out on the wine pairings too,
Wow.
which usually is even more expensive than the meal itself,
Wow.
right? So we got the full course with the full wine pairings and everything. And I don't know, the meal takes over 3 hours to eat. So I don't know if it's the slow pace or whatever, but yeah, I was stuffed by the end. And yeah, kind of drunk too because he drank so much along with the meal. But anyway, my experience there, more than the food itself, of course it tasted good, it's the presentation. It was just ridiculous. The presentation and service was just nuts.
Oh wow.
And I think that's one thing I want to call out. The Michelin stars, the food is one thing. That'll probably get you 1 star. But the second and third star really, I think, is more about what you were
Presentation and
saying. Yeah,
service.
presentation, technique,
Yeah.
service, history,
Yeah.
reputation, like all that. And so it's almost similar to what you were saying. One of the chefs is just about the food and the taste.
Yeah.
But the other judge was all about everything else.
Uh-huh.
I think that's what really will elevate your restaurant to get that second and third star.
Interesting.
So, yeah, my sweet spot is probably actually just like I like Michelin 1 stars. It's not as challenging to get in. It's not going to cost you as much. And again, the food taste and quality is probably going to be on par with everything else.
Ooh.
And I don't care as much, let's say, about the presentation, the ambiance, the service, everything, the details. Yeah.
To be clear, Michelin 1 star is already very fancy and probably their service is good enough.
Oh yeah, it is. But
sometimes I feel like if I go to, I don't think I've ever been to a Michelin 2-star restaurant. Or like, so I've been to a kaiseki restaurant in Ginza in Tokyo once.
Yeah.
And like Japanese restaurants in general, even like, especially if you go to a more expensive one, they're known to be like, their service is like
next level.
next level.
Oh yeah.
And After coming out of the restaurant, oh, they even go to the extent that if you walk out of the restaurant, all the staffs come out with you
To greet you?
and they bow and they don't lift their heads until you turn
leave.
the corner.
Wow, yeah.
And to me, it was one of the most uncomfortable experiences
Yeah.
at a restaurant. And I was like, I'm never going to a Japanese kaiseki restaurant ever. And same goes with omakase, because most of the time you're at they call it the tachi area, the bar area, and you're sitting right in front of the person who made it.
Ah, yeah.
And so like 부담스러워.
Oh,
You
because
know
how
what I
you
mean?
react and they're watching you and
Yeah,
everything.
and I can't even talk freely with my friend.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like more of the humble settings anyways.
Neither of us are fancy people, Jun. I will say the omakase situation doesn't make me feel uncomfortable at all. I think actually
Really?
I like the fact that the chef can see me enjoy the food because I think it's very satisfying to them too.
But what if it's not so good?
It's always good. I've never had a feel I don't like in that environment.
see.
Yeah.
But I feel like I have to go like over out of my way to like praise how good it is.
Yeah. This comes up again and again with you. I think for you to, there's some expectation about the reaction.
Yeah.
And then it not being authentic, that makes you very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Anyway, I agree with you though. The kaiseki experience would also make me feel very uncomfortable. And a part of that is why I also, I don't care for all the lights and the glitz and the glamour. I just want the food to be good.
What is I think you probably have a hard time answering this, but what's one of your favorite restaurants in Korea?
I don't have an answer.
Oh
no, the one we went to the
Jangmu Babsang.
Jangmu Babsang. Yeah.
Oh, you like that place?
I love that place.
Okay, cool.
If it was walkable, I'd probably eat there once a week. But the fact that you have to drive there, I don't really. Why? You don't love it?
I love their food.
Two
things that I don't like about them.
It's a little pricey.
Yeah,
it is a little
expensive. They're too overpriced.
Yeah.
Number two, they don't have a main.
It's
just like banchans.
That's I love that. Yeah.
Paired with the fact that it's overpriced, I don't think it's justifiable.
Jun, do you have a favorite restaurant in Seoul?
In Seoul?
Or sorry, in Korea?
I have so many.
You have so many.
Yeah.
So you don't have a favorite, but what are some of your favorites?
Can you give me some time to?
Wait, you have a like a neighbor list?
Yeah, of course.
Dude, can you share it with me?
I will.
Come on, like why are you holding out?
Are you on Naver Maps though?
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
I don't even like the count maps.
Let's see. Oh, there's so many.
I'm so angry right now. Are there any near here?
Yes.
Oh my god. Is it that chicken ramen place?
The chicken ramen place is good. Okay, the one that I really like in the Pundang area.
Yeah.
But so there's a reason why I didn't tell you this place.
Okay.
Because you don't like jokbal.
I don't think I've had jokbal.
And you said that you might not like jokbal.
I don't like the idea of jokbal, yeah.
So there's this place called Yunmiron in Pundang. I think a lot of people who, if they're listening from Pundang, would know this place.
Yeah.
Their jokbal
Can you walk there?
No.
See, my wife has another friend of the pod, but she also is into like, finding the latest restaurants and keeping up with the trends. But they're all like a 10-minute drive out.
Yeah.
I'm not down with that, Jun. I just want to walk there. Yeah.
Also near in Pundang, there's a place called...
What? Why are you laughing?
I feel like this just feels like advertisement, but it's not.
We're not getting any money from
산으로 간 고등어. It's a 생선구이 place.
Oh.
And I like to go to 생선구이 places because it's usually hard to cook at home because it smells too much.
Yeah.
My cat's gonna go crazy. So this is a 고등어 구이 place.
고등어 구이 place.
Yeah.
Okay. Mackerel, right? 고등어?
Mackerel, yes. Yeah. I like sambap too. There's a...
What's sambap?
Sambap is if you wrap like the lettuce wrap thing, but you can wrap it with many different types of vegetables.
Oh, you've told me about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a nice sambap place called Samdoduk in Anyang. Yeah. Anyways.
Maybe I don't need to know because now I'm just gonna be angry. I can't eat at these places.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, fancy dining. Have you had any fancy food in Korea?
In Korea?
Yeah.
The only thing that I can remember the last time I went to a fine dining place, I think they're Michelin 1-star. At the time when I went, I don't know anymore. It's called Mingle. Mingle.
What you think?
Man. I mean, they're good.
Yeah.
I never thought that they were bad, but like 가성비, right?
Yeah. The value, yeah. Not the good value.
Yeah.
I think a couple things here, again, because of our life stage right now, having many young kids at home and not having, reliable, let's say, childcare. Yeah, my wife and I just never go out to eat. We eat lunch together a lot, but we're not gonna go to like a fancy lunch place. Maybe we should, but we don't. So yeah, we just haven't had like, even in the US too, for the last 5 years, like we don't really go eat fancy places very much, even though we would like to, right? Celebrate anniversaries, birthdays, whatever, Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
I will say I don't really miss it that much. Anyway, my point was, Jun, I think it does feel like fancy food in Korea. Overall, it's like kind of trending, right? Independent of the show, or maybe that's why they did this show. But like Koreans wanting to, especially the younger generation, maybe eat fancy non-Korean food. Do you feel like that's on the rise, or has it always been popular or trending to do that?
I think, yeah, as I mentioned in the beginning of the show, I think it was really in trend during COVID when, a lot of, especially young people, didn't have a place to spend this money because they couldn't travel or whatnot.
Yeah.
Now I think the trend is that they realize that they spent all their money during COVID and they're trying to, so like omakasas are really out right now.
Yeah.
Isn't that so interesting how trends
fast it can go? Yeah. Because omakase, I think, was just in, like, I didn't know it was a COVID thing. But even in the past year, I've noticed a bunch of omakase places opening up.
I like how YOLO was kind of in trend during COVID also.
What's
or
YOLO?
Like before you only live once.
The term YOLO?
Yeah.
Oh, you're saying the term YOLO was in trend in Korea before COVID?
Before and during COVID.
Oh, but now it's gone.
And so that was the reason why a lot of like the young people spent
the YOLO
a lot of
mindset.
Money. Yeah.
I see. Yeah.
I think I learned from the news that the current trend is that they're trying to tighten their budgets.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
My understanding of reading the news in the US is that it's the opposite, and this is maybe the reason why people cite for increased spending on luxury goods, etc. It's kind of like the Enpo, like Pogi stuff, but Americans have so much debt, they have no chance at ever owning a home. Like, what's the point of saving? Like, I can't retire anyway. I can't buy a house anyway. So I'll just spend it on the things I can afford.
I see.
Which is like the $1,000 bag or the $100 meal, instead of trying to save up for my whole life just to have a chance at owning a home.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like everything else is so out of, like, just so unreachable, unattainable.
Yeah.
Like, what can I do?
I see.
So I don't know if that was the same in Korea, but
I definitely that was a thing during COVID. I think in Korea they call it YOLO족.
What's jok mean? YOLO?
Like tribe.
Oh, the YOLO tribe.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Anyways, going back to the show.
Back to the show. Yeah, away from our fancy food tangent.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the third competition format, which was the team competition.
I did watch this, episode 6 and 7. Yeah.
So there was like the room of meat and the room of seafood, and each like team from the black spoon and the white spoon formed two different groups so that they can compete with each other twice, right?
Yeah.
Both once for the meat
and one for the seafood.
Yeah. I thought there was certain cultural.
Sorry. Before we move on, quick note: being vegetarian or vegan in Korea is just not common, right?
Not common.
Okay. Because I think in America, again, this show would have had to have a third option,
vegan.
Which is vegan and vegetarian. So.
I think, the concept itself is pretty. I mean, it's becoming more and more of a thing.
Oh, it is
in Korea.
You see
like
it
vegan
rising. Okay.
But it's still foreign, and even if you are vegan, you're gonna have a hard time navigating
Korea.
through like Korean cuisine because most of the time they don't have a vegan option.
Yeah.
But sometimes there's just like they're naturally vegan menus.
But yeah, I think true vegans would go to the point of like you can't even use animal like fats or like downstream animal products in the preparation of it. So it's really hard, I think, in Korea to find that. I suspect. But the reason why I think it's so popular in America it's not primarily for the health benefits. And of course, I don't think it's for taste benefits. It's more ethical concerns about how, livestock is treated, raised, bred for food, like it's unethical conditions, inhumane conditions, and climate change, right? The amount of gas that these dairy farms and cow farms emit, and like basically they calculate like for every whatever pound of meat, pound of beef, pound of chicken you eat, how much damage is this causing the environment, and they think ethically they should go vegan or vegetarian. So yeah,
But
do those similar concerns around like climate change or ethical treatment of animals, like do they exist in Korea as much?
not as much, definitely. And I think a large proportion of people who even are vegan are doing for their health
Primarily
benefits
health. Okay.
other than ethical concerns. But I also heard that especially in terms of the gas emission, I saw like a YouTube shorts.
Yeah, it's overstated.
Yes, countering that argument by saying like harvesting avocados are X times more harmful to the environment than beef or whatever.
Yeah, I think avocados and is it peanuts? Oh no,
Like
cashews.
almonds or something. Yeah.
There's some of course like fruits and vegetables and nuts that are like very expensive.
Yeah.
Water consumption, everything to raise. So I think there's a big gray area there. Okay, anyway, sorry, moving on.
Yeah, I think the interesting part about the team challenge came from the first round, which I think was the meat, where there was a sharp contrast between the white spoon team and the black spoon team.
Yeah.
And it was all about like teamwork and whatnot. And I think it was only natural because the white spoon chefs are all renowned. They're probably like in their chief, level at their restaurants, and they're all directors. And so when you try to collaborate with all these directors, I think it's only natural that it's not going to go very smoothly. But the contrast was very interesting. I made some points that are more cultural, that could be more culturally nuanced.
Oh, cool. Yeah, let's see if I recognized any.
There was an interview in the beginning because there's like the team leader for both teams, and I don't know how they decided who the team leader was, and I think it was edited out in the show, but somehow there's a team leader in both teams. And in one of the interviews, they were mentioning how the black spoon chef team leader is a young person, and so they were like the white spoon team were commenting on their team lead, saying that he's young, so he can't can't lead well, which I think is a very Korean thing. Did you have any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, I noticed this as well. I think the white team was literally the definition of too many cooks in the kitchen. They all wanted to do it their way. They weren't good at teamwork. And also, it felt like they were hesitating to order each other around. Because like, oh, we're all like at the same peer level. Like, it feels uncomfortable. There's no hierarchy. I can't like boss you around like I'm used to. Whereas the black spoon chefs, I could still see it a little bit, but it was much more natural. Like they were okay. Like maybe they're younger, maybe they're not as established. So I definitely noticed that teamwork bit. And then it's just like the white team. There was a lot more conflict. Sorry, the white spoon team. They were trying to give each other roles, but then it didn't work out. Like,
I think the team lead in particular was a really bad team leader. They didn't give out clear directions to what their role is. And they just left it very vague, which naturally leads to everyone trying to do their own thing.
It reminded me of sometimes how you describe like work culture. Everyone talks, but everyone comes away with a different understanding of what was decided.
I was gonna get into that because I also realized that the language that they're using is very vague, especially the white spoon team. And of course everyone understands it differently. And I think this is a thing about Korean work culture, is because we share so much of the same culture and language. So naturally, and a lot of cases, people just understand even when they use vague language. But especially when it comes to more complex jobs that involves in workplaces, you don't give very concrete directions, and they just assume that they all just 이해했어, they understood. And it results in like many different understandings, which exactly what happened in the team challenge here. And another thing that I realized is that maybe this is not so much of a Korean thing, or maybe it's because of their again, as you described, there's no hierarchy there.
Yeah.
And they're all peer levels. They really couldn't confront each other
Yeah,
very
yeah.
clearly. They couldn't say you're wrong, like let's do it the other way. They're all always like trying to like
Yeah, beat around the bush or
yeah,
like hint.
yeah,
Yeah, you could even see their faces.
Mhm.
And this is where nunchi.
yeah.
You could tell they were upset, angry, frustrated, disappointed, but they never verbalized it, right?
Yeah.
They're always like, oh, like, I don't think it should be done this way. Or like, oh, why don't you try and we'll taste? Even though
Yeah.
they're like, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I think I wrote it down. There was one comment from one of the members in the White Spoon chef team.
Yeah.
They were like, 일단 시작부터 어떤 요리를 하는지 정확히 얘기했었어야 했어요.
What's that
Like
mean?
from the beginning, we should have decided what dish we're gonna make,
They
which
didn't
is
even
so
decide
ridiculous.
It's like the most important thing. They
Yeah.
didn't even decide.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I had a note from episode 6 too.
Mhm.
I saw one of the chefs peeling a potato with a parer, like you would, how Koreans cut fruit.
Uh-huh.
But they have to serve 100 people, right?
Yeah.
Like that can't be right. Like
Uh,
do Koreans have a concept of a peeler and do they use it?
I think they use it in the household,
Uh-huh.
but I feel like they're chefs, so they're maybe even faster with their knives.
No way. You cannot peel a potato with a parer faster than a peeler.
What's a pear?
It's just like a short knife that you use to cut fruit, let's say.
Ah, I see.
But they were cutting the potatoes, and they have to cut hundreds of these potatoes, like I would an apple for my kids, right? It's one thing when you're cutting one.
Yeah.
I just thought that was ridiculous to me. That was like the least realistic thing I could imagine. A chef actually paring a potato by hand one at a time.
Maybe
I
it's
don't
a
know.
chef's pride.
Maybe. But I just couldn't. I was just like, that is crazy.
Can I make a similar analogy?
A peeler is so much faster, trust me.
Can I make a similar analogy?
Yes.
When I was in architecture school,
Yeah.
when you have to make a presentation,
Mhm.
no one used PowerPoint
Oh, really?
because it's so not designery.
Wow.
They all use this software called InDesign.
Which is much harder to use.
It's more professional.
Ah.
And it pretty much, it's just more advanced.
Yeah.
But at the level of the presentation that they're making,
Yeah.
it's just
Overkill.
overkill. But no
yeah.
one uses PowerPoint. And if you see someone using PowerPoint for their presentation, they were like, "Ugh, are you even a designer?" And then maybe that sort of thing.
Neither of us are professional chefs. And
Yeah.
again, maybe I'm off here.
Yeah.
But I think in professional kitchens, chefs just use peelers in the US. Yeah,
I
it's
see.
just much more efficient and faster and safer.
Mm.
So I just thought the whole scene of her like she had a mountain of potatoes.
Maybe
to
they
peel,
didn't have it in the studio.
which in and of itself to me would be a big cultural divide. Yeah,
Ah.
like peelers are so ubiquitous.
I see.
Yeah, but I will also say, yeah, maybe you're right because when I'm at home, let's say I'm about to cut fruit for my kids, I use a peeler.
Mm.
My mother-in-law is like, oh, give me it. And she takes her knife and she just cuts it by hand.
Oh, you use a peeler for your fruit too?
Yeah, dude, peelers are everything.
I think this is a very
Carrots.
interesting point
Potatoes.
because I
fruit.
saw, I think in some country in Southeast Asia, they use a peeler for peeling all the fruits.
Okay.
And in Korea, I think that's very foreign because in a Korean mindset, a peeler is only used for vegetables when you're cooking.
Interesting.
I don't know why.
I'm pretty sure my peeled fruit is less wasteful too.
Really?
Than I know Korean like mothers in particular and grandmas are very skilled at using the paring knife. They're fast.
Yeah.
They cut close to the skin mark. They don't waste fruit flesh. But I'm pretty confident my peeler is better. Yeah.
I think one of the reasons why Koreans claim that they use a knife over a peeler for fruit is for the exact reason.
Yeah.
Because it's more wasteful when you use a peeler. Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong on this, but anyway.
That is if you're skillful with your
the
knife.
Yeah. I will say I think this is a sharp contrast to, and maybe this can be the name of this episode, kitchen scissors.
Yeah.
Not like Americans don't use scissors for everything in the kitchen, but Koreans use scissors for everything in the kitchen.
This is such a good analogy, right? Because why wouldn't you use scissors?
But why wouldn't you use a peeler? Like this is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. It's in contrast. Like
It's
they'll use
just a
the
concept.
scissors for everything,
Yeah.
but not the peeler.
Mm.
Yeah.
But there is a concept of kitchen scissors.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
But how much Koreans use it in the kitchen compared to Americans is very different. Yeah.
It's maybe it's because of the K barbecue culture because you
Ah.
can't take it out of the grill again
Cut
and
with the knife.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I love kitchen scissors. I use it for everything too.
Mm-mm.
But again, I think in America, I was like, you'd like cut it with a knife and it's not safe, it's slow, etc. And like the kitchen scissors, like bam, bam, bam. It's like so much better. Okay.
One other moment that I wanted to address is for the Black Spoon team.
Mm-hmm.
There was a moment where I think the Chinese chef didn't clearly understand what kind of garnish that he had to make to put on top of the yukjeon. And so I think the team lead wanted to be much more drier,
Yeah.
but he made it very kind of liquidy.
Yeah.
And so they had to make it again.
I don't remember this. Yeah.
Oh, so there was that moment and he kept on saying
Oh, this was the puree.
yeah, the
Yeah,
puree.
okay, yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, 내가 피해가 되지 않을지. Like I did bad I harmed the team
Yeah.
for other people."
Uh-huh.
And I think that could be sort of like a Korean culture thing.
We brought this up before.
Like being
yeah.
very concerned about whether I'm gonna be
The team,
a
yeah.
burden to the team. Yeah, but his demeanor was, I think, could be a bit foreign for Americans to watch.
That one so okay, I agree in general. Koreans are more mindful of their impact to the team and not wanting to cause burden to others. In that particular case, though, I think Americans would behave similarly. Like, oh, I let my team down. Yeah, I think in that sense, it would have been similar. No, I mean, like being the weakest link. No, because in American too, like a very common saying is like you don't want to be the weakest link or who's the weakest link, and you want to avoid that.
Yeah.
I think the difference might be in that Koreans don't want to let their team down because they're, I don't know, like it's almost causing burden to them. I think Americans don't want to be the weakest link because it's embarrassing and shameful for them personally. So I think the motivations for that might be a bit different. But I think overall, both cultures would equally not want to let their team down. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Episode 7. I made a note where I really, again, this is a call out again to fairness. Didn't you think they should have done the tasting blind? I thought it was really weird that they knew exactly who made which dish instead of doing a blind comparison.
Ah, interesting.
It just
Which is exactly
for
what
me.
they did for round 2.
Exactly. So they thought about it, but they chose not to do it, and I just don't know why they did that. Yeah.
That's a good call out.
Small shout out.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting when for the seafood team, the white spoon team won. Despite both of the professional like head judges voting for the black spoon team.
Oh, yes.
Do you think that was interesting? And their reason was interesting too. Do you remember the reason they gave? Like both of the professional judges, before it was revealed who they voted for, they and it might have been an editing trick, but they both gave a look to each other, which was like a knowing look, which is like, oh, we don't think the team we picked is going to win, and I wonder if this is how it's going to play out.
Yeah. The rice thing.
Yes,
the rice was too al dente.
It was al dente, yeah. They were like, Koreans don't appreciate al dente. They don't know if it's authentic. And for them, it's just not going to taste as good. Whereas
I think it's,
the pro chefs were like, oh, we know this is the right way to cook it.
Yeah.
But we don't know if the other 98 judges will know.
Yeah. That was interesting. And it's also because rice is such a commonly used ingredient in Korea. So Korean people, even if it's like a different cuisine, they have like their opinion about how rice should be. The texture should be. Yeah.
And then I think this was back from the first episode, but there was one chef who made it. He was cooking risotto with Korean rice. Which is not the rice, rice.
Yeah.
But the chef was so impressed.
Yeah.
You made Korean rice.
Yeah.
Taste like how risotto with Italian rice should taste.
Yeah.
Right. So I thought that was cool.
It was also interesting that no one seemed to have trusted him. Like, can you make it on time?
Well, did you see it? I thought it was so funny. They showed him like Yoshimi, like normal, so enthusiastically flipping the risotto.
I learned through the show that there's like that very particular technique that you have to do
specifically for risotto.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So he was trained in Napoli or something, the most authentic region. So he said that's the way that they do it.
Yeah. My final note on this was the episode 8 preview. I am hyped.
Oh, the
Dude,
convenience
the
store
punnet
one.
jump stipulation, the convenience store stipulation looks awesome.
Yes, I was so hyped too.
Yeah, I'm hyped.
Yeah.
And then having mukbang stars as judges is a no-brainer. That's obvious. But yeah,
yeah.
I'm excited for that too.
Yeah. I was super excited about that. You should watch the episodes, the other episodes too.
Yeah, I do think which one? The pair. Wait, you said the second test was pairing.
You pair it with one black and one white
one black
chef.
No, one black spoon
spoon,
chef and one white spoon chef.
Yeah, and then they get randomly assigned an ingredient.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Jun, this happened in Physical 100 too, and you just described it in the show. I didn't see it, but that is so awkward to me when someone has to choose who they're going against. I always get very cringy when I watch that scene. I don't know why. Does that not elicit the same response from you?
Not at all. Why? Why?
I think this is a personality thing, not a culture thing. But for you to say, like, I want to go up against, I don't know, it feels so awkward.
Challenge?
I don't know why.
Challenge the sensei?
Yeah. It always feels so awkward to me. But maybe, I do think it's a personality thing.
Yeah.
I'm a bit, what's the right word? Conflict avoidant. Yeah. But anyway, I almost don't want to watch this because of that scene. Like, it's just going to feel so icky for me. Yeah.
There was this has nothing to do with cultural aspects whatsoever.
Yeah.
But in the second round, so I told you that the judges are all blindfolded.
Yeah.
And how would you eat food when you're blindfolded? so there are helpers right next to you, and they would spoon feed you when you're blindfolded. And that became such a meme in Korea.
Oh, really?
Because it's so awkward and like oddly sexual that you're blindfolded and you're like opening your mouth. So there was like I saw a meme where they juxtaposed it with like 50 Shades of Grey. And also like a comment saying that they look like very well-fed hostages.
Like prisoners, right? Yeah.
Because they're like blindfolded. But it was interesting. It's interesting because a lot of the time it was 2-0. Like both judges had the same opinion.
Picked the same one. Okay. And sorry, was it only the famous top judges doing this?
Yeah, the two.
I see. Okay. Actually, I remember two more points before we close. I remember why. I think I have a reason why it feels so uncomfortable for me when someone goes up to and say, "I'm going to challenge you and pick you as my competition." Don't Koreans like really? Isn't it almost shameful or looked down upon to be prideful? And I feel like when you pick someone, it's like it's a very prideful act. Like, oh, I'm gonna pick you and beat you in the competition. Whereas in American culture, an American cultural context, I don't think I'd feel the same way. Because America is very like prideful. Being prideful is almost elevated. So it's like, I'm confident, I can beat you, let's do it, right? But in Korea, I feel like that's very countercultural. And I think at least how I was raised, always be humble, always think less of yourself, never be confident or overconfident, right? I feel like that's what it does for me. So I don't know if you could speak to that.
Yeah, I think it's because the underlying sentiment is kind of different. It's not. I don't think it necessarily comes from pride or confidence or like, I'm gonna beat you.
Yeah.
I think it's more like, I'm gonna fight with honor, and I'm not gonna be a coward in this.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna honor you as well. By like, I want to compete with you is kind of like honoring the component as well.
That's super different.
Yeah.
So in a sense, when someone picks their competition,
Yeah.
by picking them, it's a sign of respect, not disrespect.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not that I think I can beat you.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm honoring you by selecting you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very different.
I want to fight a good fight with you.
Do you see how different that is?
Because I think you are the best.
Yeah. I don't. Do you see how different that is?
Yeah,
though?
it's so different.
It's so different.
Yeah.
I see.
I'm very surprised that you felt you viewed it that way.
Yeah,
Because in a
American-
Korean mindset, that's so obvious.
Oh.
Because like, you don't want to be a coward.
No,
in
it's
this
the opposite.
competition. Yeah.
Like in America, it's a sign of disrespect when you
Yeah.
pick someone. It's because I'm choosing you as my competition because I think I'm better than you. I can beat you. You're weak.
Yeah.
Whereas in Korea, it's literally flipped.
Yes.
Yeah, that's again so different for me. Okay, I'm glad we got that sorted out.
Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to say, wait, you were saying about, oh yeah. I thought it was interesting for the third competition. I think there's spoilers here, so we should do a disclaimer again. But the voting was pretty similar. It was like 45-55 in one case, and I think was it 46-54 the other. it just goes to show, I think, even at the highest levels of cuisine, so much of it just comes down to taste.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like there's some objective better food. It's just all based on taste and what people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
have
felt the
preferences
same way
for.
too. If like you're a chef at a certain level and you you give it the best, I think the taste of food itself could be pretty similar,
Yeah.
especially for non-professional tasters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm hyped for episode 8. By the time this podcast airs, I suspect episode 8 would have already been out. But hopefully the overall show would not have been completed yet. So yeah, if you guys are interested in all in watching this after listening to our conversation, consider watching Culinary Class Wars. This is not sponsored, by the way. It's just this is the most popular show in Korea right now.
Yeah, we hope that Netflix sponsors us.
Not Netflix, dude. I just want to go eat at someone. I just want to be a judge.
Oh, one of the mystery judges.
Dude, I want to be famous enough where I can get invited to be a judge on an eating competition. That would be the best job in the world. Yeah.
Then we should do mukbangs.
Mukbang time.
Yeah.
And to the point, I think I could, if I focused and tried to think, okay, if you can distinguish between these dishes, you can get free food. I'll be motivated.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I think that's pretty much it.
That's it for today.
Yeah. I think it was much more of an interesting conversation than I thought it would be. Yeah.
It was okay. Yeah.
It was just okay.
This is our media review for Culinary Class Wars, or in Korean,
흑백요리사.
All right, before we end, Patreon. If you'd like to support us and you think this show is worth 25 cents, consider supporting us for our minimum tier on Patreon of $1 a month.
Yes.
It goes a long way to supporting the podcast, keeping it going, and making sure we put out an episode every week. So for all our Patreon subscribers already, thank you very much. Again, it means a lot to us. All right, that's it for this week. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Like, comment, subscribe. Give us your feedback.
조태구알.
Whatever.
You know what that is?
Like, kosa. Like, comment. It's a julima, right? For like, comment, subscribe.
조태구알.
No, is that not it?
좋아요, 댓글,
Yeah,
구독,
yeah.
알림 설정. Yeah.
So it'd be the equivalent of saying like kosa.
Oh, you say that?
They don't. That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
No,
okay,
no.
okay.
Wait, what is the fourth one? Like, comment, subscribe. Notifications.
Yeah.
Like kosa no. Sounds Japanese. Okay.
라코
Sa no.
라코 써노.